Good morning and welcome to our early years bee session. Today we've got a couple of poems, a couple of activities and a look at the bees in our observation beehive. So let's start with the poem. So this one's called Bees and it's by Or Photopopescu. So bees, buzzy baubles, honeycombers, fuzzy buzzers, queens and droners, busy bumblers, sipping, singing, humming tumblers, winging, stinging, black and yellow, blurry, furry, balls of fury in a hurry. So that's our first poem. The next one is just called Bee Song, and it goes: bees, 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 buzzing in bushes, buzzing in trees, buzzing around wherever they please. There's nothing so sweet, there's nothing so sweet, there's nothing so sweet as a honeybee. Buzz. And the last one is a counting rhyme, and it's called Five Little Bees. So, one little bee flew and flew. He met a friend, and that made two. Two little bees, busy as can be. Along came another, and that made three. Three little bees wanted one more. Found one soon, and that made four. Four little bees going to the hive saw their brother, and that made five. Five little bees working every hour. Buzz away, bees, and find another flower. So those are bee poems for today. So our first activity comes from this sheet, and it's a bee puppet, and there's also some little finger puppets here that are made in the same way that you can make as well. I've just made the puppet. So you need to colour him in and cut him out, and then very simply the piece at the bottom here, if you just cut it in a straight line and use this piece here, that can be made to make a band at the back, so you can slip your hand in, and then that makes your bee puppet. And then your bee can go away and visit all the flowers. That was made earlier. As I say, the finger puppets are made in exactly the same way, but just with smaller bands so they fit on your fingers. My next activity comes from this sheet, which is our honeycomb sheet, and honeycomb is really clever because it's made of hexagons, and the hexagons tessellate. So I've left one of my honeycomb on the piece of paper and I've cut the other three out. What I'm going to do is just put a bit of glue around on the sheet and then fit my other pieces in. So they should fit exactly, so there's no spaces. And so, oh, that was a bit wonky. A little bit of a space which you don't want. There we go. So then you've got your honeycomb all together. And then I'm going to make some bee fingerprints. And this is the card for them, and I'll put this, I'll show you this as well. And I'm using a stamp ink pad, but you could just use finger paints and use your fingers. So with your finger you need to get it into the ink paint and then push it down on your piece of paper so you've got a little yellow blob. Next thing we need to do is give him some stripes, because bees we know are stripy, aren't they? So we're going to cover one end in a bit for his head and then give him some stripes. So he's now striping, and then he'll need some antenna. 1, 2, and then he'll need some legs. So being an insect, they have 6 legs, so 3 on each side, and then he'll need some wings, so the wings come out on either side. I'm going to colour the wings in so we can see them just a light blue, or light whitish blue, just so we can see the wings a bit better. And if you wanted to, you could also draw him on some eyes, but mine's flying away from the hive. So that's my little bee flying away from the hive and all the honeycomb. So those are our activities for today. Let's now go and have a look at the beehive and learn a bit more about these wonderful creatures. So this is our bee shed where our observation beehive is housed, and it can either have 2 levels in the hive, or sometimes when the bees are really busy and they're doing really well, we'll have 3 layers in the hive, and you can see each of the slats. Each slat holds some honeycomb. This is where the bees come into the hive, and as they go through the gap and then along a runway, which you can see them coming in, and as they come in you can sometimes see them bring their pollen in little sacks on their legs. In our garden it ranges from this pale yellow to quite a bright orange. And then here you can see the slats, and each of those is a piece of honeycomb. And when it goes into the hive, it's flat, and the bees then build it up 3D and make cells, and they are hexagon shaped, which means they don't waste any space because the hexagons tessellate, so they fit together without any gaps. And each of those cells, the bees will put honey in, or the queen will lay eggs in. You can see it can get quite busy. And when the bees have filled it with honey, they will put a wax covering over the top to keep it safe and preserve it until they need it, and then just to finish off with some footage of the bees being busy. So because of COVID-19, the bees aren't in the observation hive this year, but hopefully they will be back for 2021, so please come back then.